Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we'll talk about the ambient noise cancellation technology that we have. So this is what you hear before the cancellation. As you can see, the speakers is facing you guys. Now with another speaker on top, you hear much less of a noise.
So basically what you're trying to say is you can do the noise cancellation by 35 dB. Am I correct?
For a more controlled area, more than 99%.
More than 99%.
But for an open area, as you can see, we're only applying the first speaker with this result.
Right.
With an additional speaker, we'll further reduce it by maybe around the same percentage.
We're going to do a really quick demo to show you how this works. So I'm just going to turn on my sensor over here. This is our fully functioning prototype. As you can see, we have X, Y, and Z. We have an accelerometer. Even the smallest shift gets measured.
You mentioned about the bamboo scaffolding is still in place, but I think in the future, I think that is definitely will phasing out. How do you see your product applied to other scaffolding?
Sure. So first of all, we've been testing our product on metal scaffolding as well, which is the future of scaffolding really. And like Adi mentioned, we're doing R&D for additional usage, such as especially demolition projects.
Hello, welcome to CIC Lunch Talk. I'm sure most of you have already watched the highlights we showed earlier, which is the highlights of the Science and Technologies Challenge, SciTech Challenge 2020 in construction technologies. This event is co-organized between CIC and Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. And today, it's our pleasure to welcome the champions of the open group, Note THL, and next to my side is the representatives from Hong Kong Science Park, Crystal Ford, the directors of AIR platforms. So welcome for joining us today. Brian,
Yes.
do you mind to introduce yourself and your team?
Okay, I'm Brian from Nerd 8 Limited, and this is Abong from Tech Hill Limited. Yes.
And then what's your background? Can you show us?
My major focus on R&D design and mathematical algorithm design. And my Brian is my partner. He is responsible for business development, marketing strategy, and application design.
Okay, so I remember in the final, you guys already mentioned there are some special expertise from Bong, and he was one of the pioneers developing certain technology, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Do you mind to give us a little bit more about what kind of the technology you actually developed?
Okay. Back then, maybe around 15 years ago or something.
Yes.
Yeah. So Bong was working on a project. He's actually the inventor of the active noise cancellation technology that we have today. So maybe the headphone that you use today that cancel the background noise was actually from his actual innovations.
I see.
Yeah.
So is this the innovations you guys are putting into these challenges?
Yes.
Okay, do you mind to give us a little bit more about of your innovations?
Our solution can reduce reduce noise pollution in the construction site versus active noise cancellation and elimination technology. The hardware is configurable by cloud, and we can get a good qualities of the result in the environment and able to diagnostic the noise to know the machine status.
Okay, so basically it's just like canceling all the noise that really disturbing people, isn't it?
Plus, yes, that plus also because we've got mics and we record the sounds, we analyze the sound. The well-being of the machines actually can be detected. So maybe a percussion parlor needs to be maintained or repaired. From the noise, we can detect what's going on with the device.
Okay. Right. So it's more beyond just the noise cancelling. It can also detect the health status of the machinery.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent, excellent. So how do you come up with these ideas? Because when you're doing all sorts of noise cancelling, how would you come up with something totally related to the construction industry?
Because I personally have been developing solutions for the construction industry for a number of years, and I talked to the industry quite a lot. Apparently, many people that I talked to were actually known from prior CIC events. So when they talk to me, I understand their struggles. They've always been telling me construction noise is a really big problem on construction site, because on the site we have workers suffering from hearing damage, and for the construction companies, they will need to apply for something called the construction noise permit, or we all call it CNP, such that it's like a permission for the company to work on the site. So when there is construction noise pollution on site, then it will really hinder people's performance.
Okay, I think this innovation will be really great. It's become a wide adoption, because I'm suffering this sort of nuisance at the moment. My neighbor upstairs, they're doing the renovation works, all the bangings and hammerings. So if this technology is really become reality, I'm sure this will be benefit to the most of the households in Hong Kong. And then the next thing that I would like to know, because of this challenge, the SciTech challenge, you're already enjoying throughout the whole process. And within the process, we have some trainings, and we do have some industry mentor and technology mentor helping you guys going through the process and improve your product. Do you mind to give us a little bit more, the journey that you've been through?
Yeah, it's great that you guys jointly run a few workshops together, and I believe many of them are really helpful. I particularly remember there were one actually run by Mort McDonald, and also another one run by Gammon. Both of them talks about the innovation adoption in construction industry, as well as the upcoming movement in BIM, or I call it BIM. Those will be very valuable for many of the contestants, particularly the student group, as they are lacking the background industry knowledge. And for us, I think our session with our mentor was particularly helpful. Our mentor was Mr. Andrew Tam from Transcendence, and then he really helped us to quantify the problem, such that we know that it's a really big problem that we need to solve.
Right. So did he already ask you to maybe do some trial in their own project?
He mentioned that he has the intention that we will need to discuss with him.
Okay, I'm sure that it will be happening very soon. Yeah. And then during the development process, do you have any hurdles or any difficulties that you really faced?
There are actually different phases. When you talk about the competition, the development of the MVP or the proof of concept was quite simple, because Bong was really experienced, as you also know that he was the inventor of the active noise cancellation technology before. So it was really smooth. But when we are working onto the MVP next on site, it will be a totally different story, because it will be based on an uncontrolled area, open area. You may have 20 different noises operating at the same time. So we really need to put that into trial on site.
Okay, great. So put it in a few words, how do you find most the value for participating in this SciTech challenge? And why?
Okay. The benefits would obviously be some funding, connections, and potentially connecting us to different trial projects. But to me, the biggest value is something more subtle. Back in 2019 May, there was an MOU signed between CIC and Science Park. And then people was really eager to see what's going to happen, how we're going to make a difference. It was really up until this SciTech challenge that I really feel the collaboration between the two parties was very, very powerful. We're not talking about a competition. We're talking about a multi-months or maybe years of support on a worthwhile project of the two parties.
Yeah, I think personally, I do feel that this is a great combination, because in construction industry, we understand the problems, but we couldn't find the solutions. And then our partner, I think the Science Park, they do know the technologies, but they also want to find partners to see did you actually use it in the real applications. So, and you guys got the brain, got the brilliant ideas, I think this would be really good combinations, and I think the outcome, I think everyone's are really great to seeing you guys are the champion. Is no doubt you will be one of the greatest the showcase that we've seen so far.
And because of this support, that I really believe in what we are solving is really worthwhile. So it really motivates us, not only for this challenge, but maybe for months after as well.
Excellent, excellent. And may I ask you something from your brilliant brain? That what do you see in 5 years' time? Do you think any transformation in our construction industry will happen?
Absolutely. I can foresee there will be a massive adoption of technology on construction, not only on construction site, because what we're talking about is there are various occasions that we need to mandate things like BIM, DFMA, and MIC. Some of them are hard written on regulations, on contracts, so we need to follow them. And also now we see a rise of IoT devices, which can really help the well-being of the construction workers, just such as our noise cancellation technology, as well as site monitoring technology to help safety compliance. So there will be a massive improvement on construction workers' well-being.
Thank you, thank you. I'm sure that's we are just at the beginning of our journeys. So now I'm going to move on the time to my partner, Crystals, to continue to ask you further questions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Crystal.
So thanks. Congratulations again. So planning ahead from now on, what do you think would be the next step for your product development?
In the first step, I think we plan to learn client needs and decide how to implement our active noise cancellation solution in our construction site and environment. And when we understand the problem better and then we will quickly work on the hardware on 3D printing and install the prototype in the site.
Good. So what kind of challenges that you already foresee? And if so, what kind of support that you may need in order to complete the product design?
As with many startups, I think most of us are strapped in resources. So resources, I actually mean people, money, connections. Those would be helpful. And I believe SciTech and CIC is in the best position to help us to get some of those. And also more importantly for us is we need to create a working relationship with EPD, the Environmental Protection Department, because one of the major value that we provide is we can help our clients to apply for the construction noise permit to be approved by the EPD. So if we have a working relationship with them, we understand from their point of view how our technology would improve the well-being of workers, and then with their endorsement, hopefully we'll provide more value for our clients.
Understood. So as one of the judges doing the final presentation, I saw that quite a lot of judges, they already show interest in your product. So after the SciTech challenge, has ever any potential clients or investor has already approached your company?
Yeah, the interest was really strong. It's much more than what I expected. So in the health industry, we're actually doing about 30,000 of noise cancellation device to help the ambulance to reduce noise on the air filters. That is to be delivered first quarter next year, actually. So we need to work on that. Second, in terms of in the property industry, that we've been approached by property developers. They would like their high-end residential buildings to have their windows being protected with our technology, such that the people inside cannot hear the pollution outside. So that's the next thing that we are doing as well. And of course, there are a few investors who have approached us, but I have not cannot disclose anything solid as yet. Actually, yesterday I bought my first pair of safety shoes because I was invited to a construction site to understand their machineries, how they work, and how the noise pollution actually affect their workers. So there has been really strong interest.
I think one more industry, don't forget, is the childcare industry. Because everyone nowadays need to work from home, the noise in the family. you probably can also help us to solve that problem. Right?
Obviously, you suffer from that, right?
Yeah, at the moment, yes, I am.
So as long as like CIC and HKSTP, we got a very good network with the industry and also with certain stakeholders like the government departments. So how would you like us to help you to like work with all these stakeholders in the future?
I think each of you have a different strength. I'm sure both of your organizations are very well connected. And for Science Park, I believe they've got the best connections to potential investors. CIC, best connections to potential customers. But Science Park have a very unique role, I believe. If we are looking for collaborators, Science Park sort of has it all. Like we may need to talk to parts providers, we need to talk to accreditors, testing labs, all of which can be easily accessible. Many of them are in Science Park, actually. Yeah.
Understood.
And also, as I mentioned, we really need help to get connected to the EPD. So that would be a major focus. And I know that Science Park has a green technology team already, so maybe we can go from there as well.
Yeah. Because actually recently the most of the government departments, they're quite open to technology, so that I think it is a chance for us to promote the technology as well. So considering the noise problem in construction, I think it's really serious problem. So any pilot application that you already identify that you can apply the technology in that particular scenario?
Yes. The pilot program, I believe as a startup, we always go for the low-hanging fruit. And for a pilot project, the easiest way to provide a value to them is maybe a project with the property developers, high-end residential buildings. We try to block off construction noise of the residents. Then, as the property developers see the value of our technology and when they understand more, then we may be able to run a trial case with them on the construction site to target a bigger problem.
So during the final presentation, we already saw a prototype that you have developed, but I know that it's still a long way to go. So any technical support that you are right now looking for, like the mechanical design or the industrial design, something like that? Because you are very strong in AI algorithm, but what about other kind of technical aspects?
I see. Partners that in our industry, the semiconductor industry would be the major industry that we need to partner with. And because it's an oligopoly market, there are only a few of them around. It's quite obvious. But when you narrow that down to those that we can have easy access to, maybe we're talking about a handful of them. So we've got a lot of, many of them already have been talking to us on prior projects. So to approach them is basically quite easy. So besides that, I can't stress enough that we need help to connect to the EPD. So with their endorsement is great, but more importantly, because the acoustic engineering industry is really niche. For myself, from a construction background or IT background, and Abong as well, IoT, we might not be having the best network to connect with these acoustic engineers or solution providers in that area. So I believe the EPD would have access to those, the stakeholders basically. Yeah.
Okay. So concerning the product or solution that you're going to provide, may I know it has to be customized, or it could be just one single design to serve all purpose? What kind of design that you are looking for? Because you may have to do the noise cancellation for ambulance, and also like in a household or a construction site. Do you have to do a certain kind of customization?
We can cater a modular hardware design. Our device does arrange around the size of a mobile phone. It can be easily to fix to the noisy machinery optimization. It's done by cloud updates.
Understood.
So we can cater for various form factors by standardizing our hardware, because what we're really doing is provide a software type of customization.
Understood. So for the validation, because before you go to market, you may have to do certain tests. So have you already planned for that as well?
Yeah, our validation, there are basically twofold, I believe. One is technical validation, which can be run by a few testing labs in Hong Kong. We've got SGS, we've got HKAS. We can run some of the tests with them. That's the number one. Second type of validation would be from the regulators. So if the regulators is working with us on an ongoing project, hopefully I can get them involved on a trial project, when they can see the effect of our technology, that would be a really strong validation.
Nice. So finally, I would like to know if you have any plan for commercialization and also to scale up your production in the near future.
Yes, for us, it's already quite lucky because there are two questions that every startup needs to answer. Number one is what is the market question that we need to solve, and second, whether our technology can effectively resolve them. Through this challenge, I think we've got a very strong yes on two questions. Next, I think, is to work on a prototype to be used on a trial site. With Science Park and CIC, I think we're on a good track of getting a trial project on hand. And for us to develop the prototype quickly, we can do that with the 3D printing facilities in Science Park. When that is done, I think we've got a very good chance of scaling up because our technology would already been validated with our trial project, hopefully with the endorsement of EPD as well.
Excellent. So thank you for your time. But last but not least, our Construction and Innovation Technology Fund will definitely help to bring your product into the wide adoptions. Again, thank you so much for your time and congratulations, our Open Group champions, Nook THL. And thanks for my partner, Crystal, to come to here to have a good chat today. So now we'll move on to the student group.
So welcome back. Thanks a lot for the sharing of the Open Group champion. And now it's come to the student group. So my name is Hong from SciTech CIC. Next to me, we have Eric Zhang from HKSTP. And on the other side, we have Ahan and Aditya. They are from Height Secure Technologies. So for your information, they are not only the champion of the student groups, they are also elected as the most innovative team and the best presentation team from our online audience of SciTech Challenge. So well done to both of you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really, really great achievement. And on the other side, we have Robert Dixon, who is the mentor of Height Secure Technologies. So thanks for joining us today as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get started. First of all, may I invite Ahan and Aditya to very quickly introduce yourself and your team, and also let us know the roles you play in the team.
Sure. So my name is Arhan. I'm a 16-year-old high school student from Hong Kong studying in the US, and I'm the founder and leader of Height Secure Technologies.
I'm Aditya. I study in West Island School in Hong Kong. I'm 16 years old, my first year of IB, and I'm the business leader, and I also oversee the development of our hardware.
Excellent.
And we have one more teammate, Angus Leung, but he's not here, unfortunately. He is doing product development for us, and he is also a high school student.
All right, thanks. So my next question would be, would you please also introduce your innovative solution to our online audience?
Sure.
And also talk us through about the what's inspired you to have your innovative idea.
Sure. So our solution is essentially this. It's called the Height Secure Sensor. It's a small sensor that connects onto scaffolds, and it can measure key information using accelerometers, inclinometers, an IMU, and a lot more. And what these sensors do is they take a lot of measurements on the scaffold to determine short-term and long-term standard deviation change. And these readings can inform the operator of the scaffold site on if there's any threat or safety, both in the short term, like a broken scaffold or a loose scaffold that could cause a fatality, as well as in the long term, like an incremental shift of a bamboo scaffold, for example. We're mainly targeted at bamboo scaffolds, but other products, other applications as well. And what really inspired us was the problem. We've been seeing a lot of articles on the CIC website, on HKSTP's website, on SCMP, and a lot of places online about the dangers of scaffolding. You know, there are 30 fatalities every year in just Hong Kong from bamboo scaffolding failure. So I had the idea of creating this technology, which is now patent pending, and we're just working to make that a reality.
Right. Great, thanks for your sharing. So maybe, shall we talk through about your innovation journey at SciTech? From July onwards, there were a number of workshops or training sessions organized by SciTech Challenge. And how these workshops or training improve your innovative solution? And can you share with us which session you enjoyed the most?
For us especially, we'd like to give a special mention to the Europe workshop, which was on sustainable solutions and looking at the SDGs. Personally, I felt like there were so many versatile solutions being created throughout the competition, and I felt that each webinar provided helped, in particular, some teams, because each team used a particular piece of technology, sensor, software, etc. But that webinar in particular, it linked to all of us because it once again reminded us what the purpose was of what we're doing. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to benefit people's lives. We're trying to help people in the construction industry. And I felt like that workshop really helped us inspire us and also keep us focused on the end goal and what we're actually trying to achieve through the SciTech competition.
Excellent.
Yeah, and another workshop that we really enjoyed was one that was actually run by Robert over here. He ran a workshop in July, actually, towards the end of July. And it was really specific about the pain points of the industry. I remember hearing about like specific areas of safety that were not doing so well in Hong Kong and other pain points in the industry that were really, really helpful when we were still coming up with the full solution. This was pretty early on in the challenge when we had not actually built a full product yet. We were still making prototypes, so it was very helpful to have that information.
So Robert, Arhan mentioned about your workshop at the early stage of SciTech Challenge. Can you talk us through what kind of message you try to bring over to the audience when you run that workshop?
Okay, sure. I think most of the groups, they don't have a construction background. They're usually from high school or from the tech industry. So I think what we were trying to get across in that is there's a lot more constraints in construction that maybe people appreciate. And what's solved in theory is not necessarily solved easily on site. And I think that also led in later to us going on to site. And maybe we can talk about that more later. But I think it was good for them to get out onto site and see, you know, the real life situation.
Right, talking about real life situation. I'm sure during the product development process, there must be a lot of hurdles you have to go through. Can you share with us the process and how you get over those hurdles?
Sure. Okay. So I'll first go through the hardware challenges we face, and Arhan will then go through the software. So when we looked into actually developing the hardware, to the casing which Arhan has, we faced a lot of, in terms of the actual design, we had to face a lot of things in terms of what material do we use? Is it going to be strong enough? Will it meet the industry standards? How cost saving is it going to be? How cost effective? What will the manufacturing time be? And what we realized is, instead of solving all of these problems at once, it's almost like, you know, break the big task into smaller tasks, go to the drawing board for each task, look at how we can effectively solve each problem individually, and eventually the pieces added up. So over a process of almost a month, maximum 2, we went through each problem. We tried our best to solve it with our knowledge in CAD and knowledge of the construction industry through the various webinars we attended, and all of that led up to the development of the hardware. And apart from this, another challenge was probably going to be COVID. So obviously the fact that, you know, COVID restricted our opportunities to meet together, visit construction sites, because we were actually only able to visit the Lacing construction site during that phase in October to November when there was really a breakthrough in the COVID, when the situation was quite relaxed. But apart from that, we also have very different schedules. Arhan goes to school at night, me and Angus go to school at day. So even just monitoring that and trying to find times to meet to prepare for our presentation was a challenge. But as we worked together more and more, we got accustomed to each other. We understood, you know, the strengths and weaknesses of each team member, the schedule of each team member, and we use this to our advantage, and we work towards the final presentation.
So those were a lot of the past challenges, but now we're facing slightly different challenges as we continue to develop. Our hardware is mostly done, but we're focusing on software now, which is really complicated because we're using 2 algorithms. I won't get into too much detail, but really there's one called the Kalman algorithm, linear quadratic estimation, and then there's another one which we're trying to develop, And so we have to implement these two totally different algorithms together and make them work in our own UI and software development. So that's our current challenge that we're working on right now.
So from my understanding, at the moment, all the developments are being done by three of your team, three of you.
Yes.
So are you thinking to further develop your solution, are you thinking about outsourcing some of the works to a software developer, something like that?
Yeah, so right now I've been doing a lot of the software myself, but I don't understand all aspects of it. So we're considering outsourcing the UI aspect of it. But a lot of the hardware has already been done. Adi and Angus were able to come up with 3D models as well. So I'd say we've got like most of the prototyping done. It's just the last few steps that we need support with.
Yeah, that's really impressive what you have achieved so far.
Thank you.
So maybe I pass the time to Robert.
Yep.
So our mentors in SciTech Challenge play a very key roles in the solution development process. So may I invite Robert to share with us your experience in the SciTech Challenge. So first of all, what impressed you most about this team, those two young guys?
Yep. So I think initially when we first spoke, it was through VC, and you did a run through of your first presentation, and I was already very impressed by how well spoken they were, how well presented they were. The solution itself was almost secondary, like the way they presented themselves was very good. And what really stood out for me was the passion, enthusiasm. I think when you're trying to innovate, that's key, because you need to get that message across to everybody else in the industry. And if you come in all sluggish and not really trying to drive home your initiative, then it's going to have an effect on how people receive it. So I was very impressed with that. In saying that, they weren't in any way stuck in their ways or stuck on their ideas. They were willing to take feedback. We ran through several times different scenarios of their presentations. We added each time, and every time it got better. And I think the final presentation you did on the main stage, I hadn't seen the final one, and even that was an improvement on the last one I'd seen. So it was good to see just constant improvements as you go. And bearing in mind they're only a team of 3, and some of the other teams had many team members behind, so it made it all the more impressive actually.
Yeah, really, really impressive. So during the mentoring process, how do you influence their idea through by your site experience and also technical knowledge?
Yeah.
So what type of improvements do you think you try to bring over to their solution?
Sure. So as I said, when they first presented, they know about the tech. They're from a tech background, STEM background. I'm not so much from that background, so I was already a little bit concerned because I couldn't offer anything in detail in that sense. And then when they also told me it was about bamboo scaffolding, it's also something I'm not particularly familiar with. Like the sites that we work on tend to not use bamboo. It's all metal scaffolding. So that kind of led us down a route of, why does it need to be bamboo scaffold only? Are there potentially, or why not metal scaffolding? And also, once you have that kind of technology, why not expand it and have other use cases? So I really tried to get them to think about maybe the end user a bit more, what the end user is trying to actually get and what problem they're trying to solve. Really have a think about the person you're trying to help, because they're the ones that are going to write the check and actually pay for the product at the end of the day.
Thanks for your sharing, Robert.
Yeah.
So, Eric, I know you have some questions about the future developments of their solution, so maybe I hand over to you now.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Hong. Basically, I think many of us would like to know more about your future development, right? So, would you mind sharing with us what kind of support is needed in your future development? What kind of challenge you foresee will encounter?
Sure. So, as Arhan mentioned, we plan on outsourcing majorly the user interface and potentially some of the other parts. So Arhan mentioned that we are using 2 different softwares and algorithms, but we may require assistance on actually combining them together in a harmonious manner. So we're going to look on outsourcing that as well. And apart from that, in terms of the hardware, yes, the actual prototyping is finished, but we need to consider doing tests on which material do we use. What material is actually going to be suitable for the weather of Hong Kong, facing T10s, all the way to the humid climates we face, and also the heat that we face during our summers. So that is going to be something that we're going to have to reach out for help for in terms of experimenting with a lot of different materials, placing them on construction sites, testing their integrity after. So this is going to be a long process as well. So we have work cut out for us in terms of, we need a business advice in terms of, how can we make this the most profitable? We also have the software and hardware advice, and we're planning on expanding all three of them in 3 simultaneous chains.
So I think it is very good. Thanks for sharing about this. I think from science perspective and also CIC perspective, we should we have a quite good connection, and we think we may help you on this because in Science Park we do have a different company focus on material, focus on IoT, and focus on even AI. So maybe later on we can connect you with some of them, so that they can help you to enhance your product to make it become a well mature product to deploy in the industry. And CIC can also help you to identify some trial site for you to collect more data to enhance your product. Right?
That'll be very helpful. Roberts can help as well.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we've already talked about continuing this connection and helping them out in future. And you've already connected with our Innovation Tech Center and Explore at Science Park. So it's already happening, and yeah, we're happy to continue.
Yes, it's great. So I think SciTech Challenge is a great platform for you to share your idea to the industry. So would you mind share with us, after the SciTech Challenge, have you received any investment or any potential customer approach you would like to buy your product?
Sure. So currently it's still a little too early for potential customers because we haven't actually launched the market yet. We're not at that stage currently. In terms of funding, apart from the funding we got from the SciTech Challenge, of course, we've been working with 2 accelerators. One of them is Nexplore, as Robert just mentioned, but also HK X-Tech. They're interested in running a summer program with us as an accelerator, and there might be funding options there as well. Additionally, of course, like you mentioned, we've been talking to Science Park. We really appreciate all of the support they've given us. A lot of opportunities, like working with the RCC, for example, to continue to 3D print and develop our product. And so, yeah, these are the steps that we're taking to hopefully get to further funding in the future.
That's great. Thank you. So I think everyone should be very interested. You are 2 of you are full-time students, right? Next year, I know you will go to college as well. So if there is really a customer would like to order, to use your product, to deploy your product in the construction site, so what is your plan to cater them? What is your plan to deploy the solution in the industry?
Sure. So our plan, first of all, we're very open to partnerships. If there ever would be the opportunity for one, we're happy to supply to people who might retail for us or so on. But additionally, our plan would be that we're hoping to get our prototypes fully done, functioning, tested, and positive results before we go to college in 1 year. And then we'll hopefully have more time and resources by then, within the next year or so, to start actually pushing it to launch to market, getting the CITF funding and so on to make the consumer relationships possible.
That's great. So what is your plan to balance your study and also your business in the future after you get to the college?
Sure. So obviously, being that we're in high school, right, what we've noticed is, so me and Angus take the IB diploma, Arhan does the APs, and what we've noticed is with our courses, the pressure only builds up. It doesn't really give you a break. It's only going to get more and more busy from now on. So one way we try to mitigate this issue is we're not going to set any fixed deadlines. So for example, the prototype's going to be done by tomorrow, etc. It's going to be more of when we have our holidays or when we have those gaps in our academics, we're going to try and use that time as much as possible to further develop the product. And as Arhan said, the end goal is just to try and do our best to create a product that can be shown to firms, potentially marketed. But we obviously understand the constraints being high school students and our knowledge and background. So we are open to compromise on certain aspects, but our aims are still high, our dreams are still high. We want to achieve as best as possible. But we are at the same time accepting of our circumstance, COVID, and etc.
Yeah, it is very great. I think we all see your passion and also your dream. Yeah. So actually, what is your plan to commercialize your solution? As you also mentioned, from the development stage, you maybe need to looking for some partner to help you to design the UI and do some maybe software development. But for the deployment stage and also commercialization stage, are you also have any partner to deploy the solution, or even manufacturer, maybe in the future, you may need to have a mass production, mass adoption. So what is your plan in this area?
So looking at in terms of, so first I'll answer the commercialization part. As Arhan mentioned, we're looking to get onto the CITF funding, and this was actually suggested by Robert, who gave us the idea that if you really want to make this a marketable good for firms, you got to reduce the price, right? You got to reduce it drastically because the profit margins in the construction industry, as we've learned from Mr. Dixon, is actually quite low. So we're going to try and get the CITF funding, and obviously we've made connections with people including Mr. Thomas Tong, Mr. Donald Choi, all of whom are willing to support us in this initiative. And if we could really get on the CITF fund, that would really help us in terms of marketing our good. So looking at the mass manufacturing part, we have identified a variety of firms in China. We're looking at China majorly because then the costs of delivering it to us would be lower. And in terms of mass manufacturing, we can only decide which firm we're going to use depending on the actual specifications of our final product. So for example, if we look at our final product and say, okay, injection molding is the correct one, then we will identify a firm which has very high quality, but at the same time, cheap costs for us in terms of that production process. So the exact firm can't be decided yet, but we plan on identifying that as soon as the actual specifications are completed in terms of both hardware and software, when those two are completed.
Okay, thank you. So I think your product is excellent. You can definitely enhance the safety of the industry. So I think once the people adopt your solution, they may rely on your product to enhance the safety. So actually, what is your plan to test and validate your solution before launch the product to the market? Because I think the reliability is quite crucial for your product, right?
Definitely. So there are a few things that are already in place as part of the design to keep the product as safe as possible. The first of which is the industry standard Kalman filter algorithm. This is a quite well-known algorithm that uses quite complicated math to really make data almost anomaly-free. It's quite amazing how well-refined data can be with this algorithm. Additionally, we're using machine learning for our own custom-built algorithm. And what I'm doing with that is basically it'll learn. Each sensor will pick up data from other sensors and learn from it. So it almost creates its own network. And what that means is things can only get better. Every time it recognizes data, it learns from it. So the more the product is used, the more accurate it becomes. And so before launch, we would collect the data set with Leighton and with other firms like the CIC who might be able to help us to just put a few sensors around Hong Kong and start the data collection to go. And so from there on, it'll become extremely accurate.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's great to learn that you are using machine learning to further improve your intelligence of the product and also further enhance the accuracy. And I think hardware part is also important maybe later because you know the product is installed outdoors, so maybe the waterproof standard and also the reliability, whether it can withstand the environment, so it is also important for you. So actually some testing lab may be also helping you on this area as well in the future. So the final question is actually, what do you find most value from this challenge, and can you share the reason behind?
Sure. So we'd like to thank the opportunity to connect with such esteemed individuals in the construction industry. For example, Robert, Mr. Thomas Tong, and a variety of other individuals from the CIC and the SciTech community as well, who are willing and showing support in terms of helping us. And apart from that, I really believe that SciTech gave us an opportunity to go through this innovation process in a very interesting time for all of us. And we've all taken something out of it. We've discovered new things about ourselves. We've learned about our own strengths and weaknesses. And we'd like to take this opportunity to thank SciTech for providing us with this opportunity for us to really, dive deep into an industry that we've not had much experience with before, to learn something new, and to just try and use our skills before and do something good for society. So I think that was our main gain from the SciTech competition.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I think if anything, SciTech has been a catalyst for our ideas, a catalyst for our development, because before the challenge started, I had a rough idea of this project. I had just thought about it, and I was thinking about patenting it, but there was no business model. There was no 60-slide presentation about it. It was just an idea, a basic invention. And so what SciTech really did is through the dozens of webinars and through numerous presentations and deadlines and stages, it really gave us the opportunity to, through individuals, for example, like Adi mentioned, and through other resources, develop our product and make the product into an actual solution. And so I think just having that facility and that catalyst was extremely helpful I don't think it would have been possible without SciTech. So we're very, very thankful to everybody who's made this possible, behind the scenes and on the stage as well.
Thank you very much. It is great to hear so many positive feedback regarding the challenge. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your sharing, and I'm really glad to know that SciTech acts as a catalyst for your solution development. So before we conclude this session, may I take this opportunity to introduce some of the upcoming events of CIC. So first of all, there is the Construction Industry Outstanding Young Person Award. This award is open to all Hong Kong permanent residents between 20 to 40 years old. There are 3 categories, namely design and management, frontline construction personnel, business, academic, and others. So the deadline is actually today, so please act now. Another event is CIC Digitalization Award 2021. This is another key event that I would like to share with you. The award recognizes outstanding local projects and local organizations for their contribution in the promotion and adoption of digital tools and workflows to improve productivity, quality, sustainability, and safety. So we have project categories and organization category for this award. The application deadline is June 2021. So please go to the award website for more information. Last but not least, our next CIC Lunch Talk will be on 18th of December. The topic of the next lunch talk is sustainable construction against sustainable profitability. We are very glad to have representatives from CLP, Hong Kong and the China Gas Company Limited, and Hong Kong Electric Company Limited as our speakers, sharing about sustainable construction. So that's the promotion about our upcoming event. Thank you again, Ahan, Aditya, and Eric, and Robert, coming over and for sharing your experience of SciTech Challenge. So thanks a lot for today. So I see you again in future CIC event. Thank you.
攞獎到黑嘅感受啊，當然既興奮又緊張啦。嗰下好開心嘅，咁啊因為知道咗，起碼得到業界嘅認同啦。
咁當選傑星之後咧就唔同啦，我多咗份使命感咧，要傳承我嘅經驗俾下一代啦。
最緊要係團隊精神啦，就等於喺個大海度一個舵手點樣帶住幾百人同一步伐向住目標完成個旅程。